3.8. What can a manager do to create the conditions that motivate?
6 techniques have a predictable effect on increasing an individual's motivation. 1. Create opportunities for achievement and accomplishment. 2. Allow people freedom, discretion, and autonomy in doing the job. 3. Provide opportunities for learning and growth. 4. Increase the amount of challenge. 5. Make sure that the work itself is inherently capable of motivation. 6. Provide recognition. Tell me more. Create opportunities for achievement and accomplishment. Is the job worth doing? Can the individual do anything to be proud of, or is it just the same old, same old? The classic example of increasing opportunities for achievement involved Emery Air Freight's success in increasing the use of containers to consolidate several small packages into one large container. The company's stated goal was 95% utilization of containers and, while it was not precisely measured, the assumption on the part of most managers and employees was that the 95% goal was being achieved regularly. One day Ed Feeney, an Emery senior manager, actually audited the operation to see what percentage of shipments that could be consolidated into single containers actually were. He was astounded at the result. Instead of 95% of the goal, the operation was achieving only 45%. Feeney corrected the problem by providing feedback to each individual dockworker about his actual level of performance. He accomplished this by creating a simple form that required the dockworker to write the name of the shipper for each item, to note whether or not each package being processed met the requirements to be consolidated, and to indicate whether or not it actually was consolidated into a larger container. At the end of the shift, the dockworker calculated the actual percentage of those packages that were containerized against those that should have been containerized and turned the form over to his foreman. When this form was introduced nationwide, the overnight result was an increase in containerization from a national average of 45% to 95%. Not only did Emery dramatically increase its effectiveness, but the dockworkers and supervisors were given an excellent opportunity for genuine achievement. Allow people freedom, discretion, and autonomy in doing the job. How much say do people have in deciding how they perform their jobs? Do they have any discretion, or are the procedures completely specified? Can an individual exercise good judgment, or does policy dictate everything? Are employees permitted to use common sense, or is any variation from standard operating procedures punished? A commonly reported motivational factor is the ability to operate independently, to think for oneself. Let's look at how a manager can increase the amount of discretion that a job provides. All jobs are done in one of 3 different modes. Some parts of the job are done in the do mode. In this mode, the individual has total authority, doesn't have to get anyone's permission in advance, she isn't required to let her boss know what she's done. The individual is entirely free to act and get the job done any way he wants. The second mode in which jobs are done is do, report. The individual is fully free to act, but must let the boss know afterward what was done and how it went. Finally, there's the check/do/report mode. Here the individual has no autonomy. Before acting, the employee must first get the boss's approval, or run it by the committee, or check with the rest of the team. Then the person can do what needs to be done, but then must fill out a transaction summary form, include it on the weekly report, review the transaction with the supervisor. Figure 3.2 displays the 3 modes in which jobs are done. There is something disturbing about the way this triangle has been drawn. As it stands, it represents a very sick job. Can you see why? The reason is that the way the triangle is portrayed above, The huge majority of tasks fall into the check/do/report area part of the Figure 3.2. Check, do, and report triangle. Job where the individual has the least amount of discretion. A smaller number of tasks fall into the do, report portion of the triangle. Finally, the smallest area of all is the one in which the individual has the greatest amount of autonomy, do. The job of the manager who wants to increase the amount of motivation people feel is to turn the triangle around, to rotate it so that the largest part of the job is in the area where the person has the most authority and the smallest part where the individual has the least amount of say in how the job is done. Figure 3.3 illustrates the way the triangle ideally should look. How does a manager go about rotating the triangle? Start with those tasks or assignments that you routinely ask a staff member to check in with you before he undertakes the task. If you routinely approve the recommended action, this task is a good candidate for moving up from the check/do/report mode to the do, report mode. You might say, Harry, from now on, every time a customer exception